Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday service. I must apologize for starting late. It was because we had to go and do our COVID antigen test. We had booked it before, so we can come back to Nigeria. Nigeria is just a stressful place. They say we still have to pay 50,000. I don't know how true it is. Bookie was just telling us now. As in, to come back to your country, we didn't have to pay one dime to come to the UK. So, good morning, church. Please accept my apologies. The title of today's message is Why Daddy Freeze Does Not Preach Salvation. Good morning, Brother Shupo. Thank you for checking up on me. Shupo, when I told you I wanted to go and do COVID test, I'm sure it was panicking. Are you okay? Nothing, is to come back to our very lovely country back home. You know? So, God bless you all. How are you doing? If there's anybody important, there's one Buchi. Okay, Buchi. Hi, Buchi. How are you doing? Esther Omori, my darling. How are you? Esther, baby, my lovely sister. Simply Vic corrected me. It's not 50,000. It's 45,250. Who did this to us? Who did this to us? Let us start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, I come before you to glorify your holy name. I come before you to exalt you. I come before you to magnify your name. I thank you for the opportunity you've given us to come to the UK for the successful convention and communion service. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Lord. All I can say is thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Forgive me, but I'm going to work with a timer. Back home, I just preach. When I'm tired, I stop. Now, I have to work within the confines of about an hour, so please work with me. When we're done, I was invited by my good friend, Pastor Toby Adegboyega. They're having a service in their church today, so we're also going to join them and celebrate with them. You see, yesterday was a defining moment for me. We went to the Davido show. I went with Pastor Toby, and in the car there were, how many pastors were there with us, babes? About 6 to 7 pastors were going to the venue. Everybody was well dressed. Everybody was wealthy. One of them was telling me about the volume of crypto he does in a week. Me and Taste Boys were like this. I'm going somewhere with this gist. They talk like brothers. There was a bit of Hennessy. They were sipping, they were gisting. You know, me, because I knew that I would climb plenty stairs, so I didn't just drink anything. I just behaved myself. We got to the venue. We all enjoyed the show. We danced to the music. You know, Pastor Toby has a VIP box upstairs, so we're like in our own world. We're watching Davido. There was food, drinks, anything you wanted. And I was watching these people. And I was like, do you realize that according to the Nigerian context of salvation, they are all going to hellfire? Oh, I'm going to hellfire according to Nigerian constitution and definition of religion. Daddy Freeze is not going to. Daddy Freeze is the Antichrist. He is inside the hellfire already. He's just recruiting people to join him. So let's forget about Daddy Freeze. Let's talk about these other guys. All pastors, all anointed, all been through pastoral school, but they're grooving to Davido. Now, Davido was not singing, praising the Lord, always, always. No, Davido was singing his regular Davido songs, and they were all vibing to it. But you see, inside the vibing, nobody got drunk. Inside the vibing, there were no substances. We were all together. I was watching. Let me tell you what to tell you about. I am so I'm observant to a fault. If a girl walks in and she's extremely ugly, I will see. If she's extremely beautiful, I will see. Anything. If a plane passes by, Ferrari passes, fly passes, cockroach, I miss nothing. And I thought about it. And I realized that a lot of people say, oh, Daddy Freeze, you're always criticizing pastors. You don't even preach salvation. My question is, what is salvation? What is salvation? Somebody is asking, did the pastors drink alcohol? Oh, yes, we all drink alcohol. In the Free Nation, when we had our communion service, we served alcohol to everybody. If you cannot drink it, put your finger in it and touch it on your tongue. That's your communion. Let's say you have a health condition that cannot allow you to drink alcohol for whatever reason. Dip your finger inside the wine and touch your tongue with it. That can serve as communion. But that you will use Lucozade or Ribena or Coke to do communion. No, before Free Nation. I will not allow it. That's nonsense. That's Pentecostal nonsense. And I thought about it. You see, what really is salvation? You have to give your. There's one guy at Stratford that is in front of the Westfield Mall in Stratford. Every day he's holding mic. He will preach from morning to night. When he's done, there's cassette to come and buy. He's still tied one way or the other. At the end of the day, he's still tied to money. Give your life to Christ. Give your life. Let me ask you a question. Would you listen to somebody, between you and I, would you listen to somebody with a microphone in a mall telling you about how hellfire is going to burn people where he has not been to hellfire before? Or will you listen to someone who is surrounded by his boys who are all millionaires and say, oh, he gave me this company, he helped me set this up? Who are you going to listen to? The salvation Nigeria needs is a deliverance from poverty and the mindsets of poverty. That is the salvation we need. You cannot walk with Christ and all you have to show for it is poverty, hunger, lack. Meanwhile, your pastors that are preaching to you are wealthy. Let me ask you a question. I was talking to my sister. I'm just picking up little experiences from my stay here for the last 1 week. I've been here for about a week or so. I was driving out with my sister's husband, Nee, and his neighbor was coming. He was driving in, was driving a bit recklessly. So we dodged his car and he was driving the latest G-Wagon. Hey, you can't unplug me. Oh, okay. No, but this one is connected live. What do you need it for? Oh yeah, very quickly. Sorry. Okay. You understand? So as he was driving out, my sister's husband said, do you know this guy bought this G-Wagon? It was the latest G-Wagon. He bought it last year for £128,000. He is selling it this year for £168,000 because car prices have gone up and G-Wagons are in such high demand. Imagine buying a car last year for £128,000 and you are selling it this year for £168,000. And I want to ask you, those people that say car are not assets, where are they? How many houses will you buy within 1 year I will gain you that much in 1 year? I'm not saying house will not appreciate too, and I'm not saying eventually the car will not depreciate too. But where are all those people? I'm going somewhere with this. All your pastors, I don't think there's a Nigerian GO that has just one house. They have 10, 15, 20 houses. They have estates. But you see, they will come and wear simple clothes. They will come and arrive in a simple car. But they will have 50 houses. that are either yielding them rent or are being used for whatever purposes, but then they have a tiny little car, and then they wear simple clothes. There was one Geo we're talking about, his shirt is 2 pounds, his trouser is 1 pound, but then he has a Gulfstream, a G65. Who are they fooling? Meanwhile, a young boy pulls up in a Ferrari, they'll say he's living extravagantly. 10 houses and 1 Ferrari, which one is extravagance? You see, Nigerians are so used to sins that they can see. The ones that they cannot see, those are the ones that our leaders teach us, our so-called leaders who preach salvation. I was talking to a watch seller. You know, I'm into watches. I love watches. I'm a collector. And the guy was like, Daddy, please, you don't have watches. He started mentioning some Jews. Say, if you see the level of timepieces that these people have, and they are all assets. So my question is, and I want to put it to you, what is salvation? Go with me to the book of John chapter 8 verse 32. I want to read this in the original language the Bible was written in, the Greek language. It says, "Ke gnosethi," from knowledge, gnosis. Ten alethian kehe alethian elu herosei himas. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. My question is, if Christ preached a freedom, maybe we should read this in the context of what was being said. What was Christ even talking about in John chapter 8, verse 32? Let's read from about verse 25. Who are you? They demanded. Yahushua replied, the one I have always claimed to be. I have much to say about you and much to condemn, but I won't condemn you. Let's remember at the beginning of this John chapter 8 was the adulterous woman that was supposed to be stoned, where he said, cast the first stone. He says, then the people now, back to verse, sorry, where was I from? I was on, I have much to say about you and much to condemn, but I won't. For I say only what I've heard from the one who sent me, and he's completely truthful. But he still didn't understand that he was talking about the Father. So Yahushua said, when you have lifted up the Son of Man on the cross, then you will understand that I am he. I will do nothing on my own, but say only what the Father taught me. And the one who sent me is with me. He has not deserted me, for I always do what pleases him. Then many who heard him say these things believed in him. Yahushua said to the people who believed in him, you are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Let's ask ourselves, what are the teachings of Christ? Do you know what the teachings of Christ are? If you read Matthew chapter 13 verse 12, it says, the more you listen to my teachings, the more I'll give you understanding until you have an abundance of knowledge. So the followers of Christ are supposed to have an abundance of knowledge. How do you explain Nigerian Christians' ignorance? How do you factor it? What do you label it as? Let's discuss. Let's go back to the word salvation. Is salvation to Nigerians You see somebody says they don't drink alcohol because alcohol is unholy. Is that what Christ said?
Beating your wife is holy.
Beating your wife is holy. Depriving your wife is holy. Making your wife stay in a dead marriage with you is holy. Because you see, I was talking to Buki on our way home. We went to do, like I said, we're coming from the COVID test, so we can fly back to our beloved country within 48 hours. And we're talking about divorce. And Buki told me that by April this year, that before you needed 4 reasons for divorce, including 1, adultery, 2, unreasonable behavior, 3, deprivation, dissertation, what else? Separated for 2 years or 5 years. These are grounds for divorce. But they said from this April, there's going to be no contest. That is, you have no reason, you just don't want to be in a marriage. We are going, you see, we are going back to Moses, Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1 to 3. That's where we're going back. Because Christ came to give you a law that's supposed to set you free, but instead you have used it to entangle yourselves. Please, let's read Matthew chapter 24, verse 1 to 3. Sorry, Deuteronomy 24, 1 to 3. Thank you, my love. So I can plug back. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 24. I'm reading from the New Living Translation. Let's read this together. I'm sure your pastors never read this part of the Bible to you. I'm sure they don't. Let's read it. This is the old law. Tob Magoldi says, a pastor in my church once attacked me that it's a sin to drink alcohol. Alcohol that Christ drank. Alcohol that they were drinking in the early church. To the point where people were getting drunk and Paul was angry with them and quarreling with them for getting drunk in the church. How did alcohol become a sin? Let me tell you, one of the greatest sins that is going to lead all of you into hellfire is ignorance, foolishness. I'll take you a little further. Let's read this, Deuteronomy 24, verse 1 to 3. Suppose a man marries a woman, but she does not please him. Having discovered something wrong with her, he writes a document of divorce, hands it to her, and sends her away from his house. When she leaves his house, she is free to marry another man. As simple as ABC. The moment she leaves his house, she is free to marry another man. Now, in this, first of all, I'm going to explain to you, this is old law. Christ came and changed this. But I'm going to explain the context in which he changed this. So just calm down. Now, let's look at this old law in today's world. Suppose a man marries a woman. In 2022, men don't marry women. People marry each other. A man does not marry you in the civilized world. Two people decide that we love each other enough and we want to get married. Amen. A man does not marry a woman anymore. So if we're to go forward with this, having seen something wrong with her, he writes a document of divorce. In 2022, anybody can write you a document of divorce, whether the man or the woman. The law of Moses was based on a patriarchal system that does not exist in 2022. He sends her away. Verse 2 says, when she leaves his house, she is free to marry another man. Anybody can originate a divorce in 2022. Anybody, man, woman, I'm tired of the marriage for this reason. But you see, if you read Matthew, go with me to the book of Matthew, chapter 19, verse 9. To read 9 in context, I'm going to read from verse 3. Some Pharisees came to him. If you read Matthew chapter 23, verse 1, the Pharisees were introduced to us properly. The Pharisees are those who sit in the seat of Moses. They interpret the law of Moses. Please familiarize yourself with that verse. Matthew chapter 23, verse 1. So I'm reading Matthew 19, verse 3. It says, some Pharisees came to him. Who are the Pharisees? Those who interpret the law of Moses. And tried to trap him with a question. Should a man be allowed to divorce his wife for just any reason? Now let's remember that the Pharisees are the teachers of the law. Where does the scripture say that they can divorce their wives for just any reason? Matthew chapter 24, verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1. It says, if a man wakes up and is unhappy with his woman for whatever reason it is, she added weight, she has stretch marks, she lost her job, she can't have kids, anything, whatever it is, he just gives her a bill of divorce and she's free to go and marry any other man. Then Christ replied in verse 4, haven't you read the scriptures? They record that from the beginning God made them male and female. And he said this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. Since they are no longer two, please forgive me, let me just mix the drink. I've been running up and down all day and I still have some ice left here, so I might as well just use it. All right. Since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. And then verse 7 says, why did Moses say in the law that a man can leave his wife by giving her a written notice of divorce and send her away? They now ask, where did the law say it? Deuteronomy 24, verse 1 to 3. Then Yahushua replied, Moses permitted divorce only as a concession to your hard hearts. But it was not what God had originally intended. And I tell you this, whoever divorces his wife and marries someone else commits adultery unless his wife has been unfaithful. So Christ came and changed the law of Moses from me being able to divorce my wife for the fact that she doesn't smell as good as she used to smell when she was younger, the fact that her mammary glands are now slack, the fact that she has grown a tummy, or the fact that she has stretch marks in places she never used to have them before, the fact that her hair is graying out and thinning out. Those were genuine reasons under which I could divorce my wife according to Christ, according to the law of Moses. I don't find her attractive anymore. Or she's too quarrelsome. She's too... Christ said, no, you can't do that. You can only divorce your wife on grounds of infidelity. And you ask yourself, let's even read what Christ said in verse 5. And he said, this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. And my question is, were you ever joined together in the first place? Bookie is here. Bookie, I want to ask you a brain teaser. No, sit down. It's informal. What must you do to get off a bus? There's only one thing you must do to get off a bus.
Here with us, we press the button.
You press the button and then
the driver stops and you walk out.
What must you do to get off a bus? Bookie has said you press button, you walk out. It's not the only thing. You can actually jump through the window. Abi?
Yes.
What must you do to get off a bus? Guys,
Look for the exit.
you must look for the exit. What if you don't look for the exit? You pass through the manhole on the roof and jump out. You see, there's only one thing you have to do to get off a bus, and that is to get on the bus. You can't get off a bus that you are not on. You can decide to roll off the bus. You can decide to crawl off the bus. You can decide to hop off the bus. You can decide to skip off the bus. You can decide to fall off the bus. You can decide to jump off the bus. There are many ways you can get off a bus. But there's only one thing you need to do. You need to be on the bus in the first place.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you, you are saying that do not split apart what God has joined together. I want to ask you, who told you God joined you together in the first place? You are in a marriage, but your wife cannot see your phone. You don't need a divorce. You are dating, break up. You don't need a divorce. You are in a marriage. You tell your mother things you don't tell your wife. You are in a marriage. You are saving money with your mother, not your husband. You are in a marriage. Your wife is walking on the street and you are buying your mother a car. She does not need to divorce you. She needs to break up with you with a text message. That's not a marriage. He said what God has joined together, the two of you have become one. You never became one. Let's forget cheating on your wife. Are you really one with your wife? Does your wife have access to your bank accounts? Listen, you can't get off a bus you were never on in the first place. You are standing by the roadside and say you want to get off a bus that you are not on. That's the foolishness of religion. Let's talk. You see, adultery is far. Adultery is stage 10. You see, there's what you call nullifying a marriage in the Catholic Church. If you've not consummated a marriage, that means you've not done the do. You don't need to go for a divorce. You nullify it. Let me tell you, Nigerian marriages are nullified from zero. Oh, there are many couples who work together. Some of you have that, like Taste Buds and I. Taste Buds has access to all my bank accounts, phone password, safe password. She knows what I have. There's nothing I have that she does not know. The fact that she knows does not mean she can demand for it or want to have out of it. No. And there's nothing she has that I don't know about. She doesn't hide her account from me. She doesn't hide her business from me. Listen, there are some things that women like that a man will find difficult to understand. This London that we came, Taste Buds rented one whole box to buy some kitchen equipment. Me, I just dey look at me. I shall not say when we reach the toll. Me, I just step aside. Only you go sort out the excess luggage. I no go put mouth. That's how I go dey look. Me, I sabi look person where like Lucozade. And me too. I like changing my car. If I've not changed my car once in 2 years, I'm not happy. I like to change my car. I like to buy new cars. I like nice, because this is actually as a result of this, I'm not even live on TikTok today, and I'm not live on my second Facebook. Still, I have 4 gadgets in front of me, iPad and 3 phones. I mean, okay, you are here, you can see it live. And we're not on TikTok today. We've not been for the last 1 week. So there are things that me too I like, that she will not approve of, but she knows that it is my money. She knows where the money is coming from. Then I always inform her. Babes, I want to buy a watch. If I didn't bring food money, or school fees is late, and I tell her I want to buy a watch, me say I go look stupid. But when I've sorted out the bills, I'm not a get many houses, build. I don't know how to be chasing property up and down. As a matter of fact, property stresses me. Me, the few years I want to use in this life, I want to enjoy them. And buying houses up and down is not enjoyment to me. I don't define it as enjoyment. Maybe you do, it's up to you as your business. Me, I don't. I want to eat my money as food, drive my money as car, wear my money as watch, then take care of the poor and everybody else around me, make sure everybody's okay. That's how I spend my money. And she knows. And she doesn't quarrel with me. The other day we're coming, we got on a taxi because she said she wanted a taxi. I was fine with walking, it's not far. We're not far from the mall. We got on the taxi. It was her suggestion. When the taxi got to the bus, they stopped. She paid for it. I was just looking at her. Now, when I saw that the money was like £7 or £9, and she had £20 notes, I now gave her coins. But I was just looking at her. How many women will offer to even pay taxi for their husbands? Let me tell you, I learned it in a certain relationship I was in. I'm not going to mention the relationship. We travel. Anywhere we go, as you pick the things, you look at me to pay. The next time we traveled, as we're landing there, I'm telling you where I am. I'm telling you, I'm going from the airport. We know they enter the same cab or the same train. Me, they tell you where me they go. We will meet. I'll tell you on the day we are going to meet, and we cleverly manipulate in such a way that you are not going to do shopping. I give you money from before we come off for Nigeria, and then I will still they pay for here. So what thing I can't do for myself? The money I gave you is for what? You, the work you are doing is for what? So there's already a separation. But like I keep telling you, there's a paper that says we're married. But before God's eyes, we were never joined together in the first place. So you are not putting asunder. You can't get off a bus you are not on. The same church that is teaching you that divorce is bad, are they teaching you the qualities of marriage? They tell you that a woman must be submissive. Are they telling the man to jump from the highest building if it needs for his wife? Because those are the demands Christ made. Christ died for the church. And when Paul was addressing this, he said, husbands, love your wives. Let's read this. Go with me to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 22. For wives, this means submit to your husband as to the Lord. For a husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of the church. He is the savior of his body, the church. And the church submits to Christ, so wives should submit to your husbands in everything. That's where the Nigerian doctrine ends. But the real doctrine continues in verse 25. It says, for husband, this means love your wife just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her. He gave up his life. Nobody's asking you to give up your life for your wife. They're asking you to give up your pleasures. Not even all of your pleasures. Some of it. Stay with me. Watch TV with me. Take care of me. Take me on a holiday. Buy me some hair. Take care of my mother. I don't understand how you can love someone and their mother is suffering. Let me tell you, for me, I was reading other preachers preaching, you are not to take care of your parents-in-law. You are not to, me. I know they joke with my mother-in-law. I don't know as soon as they do your own. I know they joke with if my mother-in-law call me and ask me for, if I don't do them, I don't go fit sleep. How now they do your own, I don't know. And when the way they do them, I know. But if my mother-in-law should ask me for anything, and I pride myself with the fact that she can ask me, I'm the only one she can call aside and say, I need this. And no matter how my pocket is pinching me, I know this is my mother. You don't joke with your mother-in-law. That's what I'm teaching you men in the Free Nation. Anybody that, if you are not in the Free Nation, listen to anybody else's teaching. As long as you are in my church, if your mother-in-law is suffering, you are not like me. Your wife, how do you expect your wife to be happy when her mother is sad or her father is sad? Now we disagree on things. My mother-in-law does not like me abusing people, and me, my mouth does not rest. That's a doctrinal matter. But food, medicine, necessities. How do you expect your wife to be happy? I don't know, maybe there's a formula somewhere, there's a dy dx that people can calculate and be looking. Maybe there's an algorithm that you guys can come up with that will make your wife happy when her mother does not have food. But I've not found that algorithm. So just even know once. Let me tell you something. My mother-in-law will call me before she calls my wife. For anything she needs. She will call because she knows that I've opened that door. I've opened that door. Sometimes she says she doesn't want to disturb because she knows what she's going through. I say, hey, disturb me. And that is how it. Now I understand when you don't have, and I understand when you have greedy in-laws. Greedy and entitled in-laws. I understand it. When you have a greedy and entitled in-law, then it is your spouse's duty to check them. But your wife's mother's father's necessities, they are your problem. Anybody teaching you anything else, join their church, leave us in the free nation. Because I cannot say somebody will come and marry Buki tomorrow, then her mother will need. I'm not talking about want. Let me tell you, you're supposed to even help your mother-in-law with her wants. As long as the wants are not exaggerated. But how can you help with wants when you have not done need first? Person will never give money for house rent. Person will never give money for food. How you want to buy clothes for the person? So I don't want anybody here marrying any free nation girl. My sheikh I will curse you. You marry a free nation girl and her mother needs medicine, or her mother's car is broken down, and then you refuse to help, and you can help. Omo alenye. Omo alenye. You are not. I don't have sons. Many pastors have sons. I don't have sons. But I have people who believe in my message and follow me. You don't believe in my message and you are not following me. So you are in a relationship. You see your wife and your wife's family as outsiders, but there is a paper that binds it together. Then you now read, what God has joined together, let no one put asunder. It's convenient for you. You are sleeping with your wife's cousin, but you are reading this. You are depriving your wife. I know many men that say their wife should not work. I don't have a problem with a man that says his wife should not work, but just don't let her suffer when she's not working. If I'm Dangote or Tella, my wife has no business working. What is she working for? I will set aside some things for her that will generate monthly income for her. What is my wife working for? Forget $10. I have $50 million in my life. What's my wife working for? Sorry, me that has the $50 million. What am I? You think I will have $50 million? I will be working alone. Do you know that spending $50 million in your lifetime is work? What's my wife working for? It's because I'm not wealthy. That's why my wife has to work. You think I'm happy that she has to wake up when she should be waking up? There should be gym in the house. There should be swimming pool in the house. The gym instructor should come at 9 o'clock, work out for 2 hours. She goes to swim, then goes to the hairdresser. Even come to the house, do her hair, do her nails. She goes shopping, so that by 2 o'clock I have that meeting and I want her to be there with me, looking like a flower. She's ready. What nonsense work! But you see, I cannot do that unless her income can take care of her family. That's her mother, siblings, anybody who needs anything. Her income can take care of it. Her income can take care of her needs. Simple. My husband and dad did not get along. In fact, they block each other on WhatsApp. But my mom comes my husband more than she calls me. Absolutely. Now, it is also your duty as a father to get along with your son-in-law. It's your duty. If you are a father and you have grown-up children and you are listening to me, it is your duty to be your wife, your daughter's husband's friend. Me raise Hitler. I'm not raising a generation of Hitlers. Many of our fathers were Hitlers. It's just that they did not have mustache in the middle of their nose. Gbogbo ìwà Hitler ni. No be me they raise you. Wọ́n ní tọ́mọ bá kọjá ẹgbà, a máa ń bá sọ̀rọ̀ ni. Once a child passes cane, na talk we dey talk to them. You don't have to agree with them, but you have to. My mother-in-law is the queen of passing messages across without fighting you. She will just be passing the message gently, and the message will enter, and you no go agree, but you will not hear the message. And she will not throw you away. In-laws, do not throw your sons or daughters away. I'm still going somewhere with this message. Let me not dwell too much here, because I know people are enjoying this part of the message. But why am I saying this? You see, many people believe that if you are divorced, you can't be saved. McDonald. Many people believe that if you are not divorced, that if you are divorced, you can't be saved. Can you please read John chapter 4 from verse 25? Let's all go there together. Sorry, my Bible went to bring John 425. Can't they carry me go anywhere else? Well, Sherry. First, to even read 25, I want to read in context, so I'll read from verse 4. It's a long read, work with me. He had to go through Samaria on the way. Eventually, he came to the Samaritan village of Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Yahushua, tired from the long walk, sat wearily beside the well at noontime. Soon a Samaritan woman came to draw water, and he said to her, "Please give me a drink." He was alone at that time because his disciples had gone to the village to buy some food. The woman was surprised, for Jews refused to have anything to do with Samaritans. She said to Yahushua, "You are a Jew, I am a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink?" First of all, let's start with this. Jews have nothing to do with Samaritans. Just the way Hausas and Igbos, Yorubas and whatever else, it's not new. If your parents says do not marry from this tribe, no be new thing, it don't dey since. The only thing is Christ was not like that. Christ didn't care about he didn't care about where you are from Palestine, or you are from no. Simple as ABC. Verse 10, Christ replied, "If only you knew the gift God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask me and I will give you living water." Christ did not discriminate that she was Samaritan. He said, if you knew. The reason why you are ignorant, that's why you have missed your salvation, or you are about to miss your salvation, not because of anything else. If you knew I was he, you go kneel down here now, beg me for water. You showed in that video. Very clearly said. Then 11. She now told him, "But sir, you don't have a rope or a bucket, and the well is very deep. Where will you get this living water? And besides, do you think you are greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us this well? How can you offer better water than he and his sons and his servants and animals enjoyed?" Yahushua replied, "Anyone who drinks this water will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh bubbling spring from within, giving them eternal life." "Please, sir," the woman said, "give me this water, and I'll never be thirsty again. And I won't come to get water here." Then Christ said, "Go and get your husband." "I don't have a husband," the woman replied. Yahushua said, you're right. You don't have a husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the one you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth. Sir, the woman said, you must be a prophet. So tell me why it is that you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place of worship, while we Samaritans claim it is right here at Mount Gerizim, where our ancestors worshipped. Now let's look at this. That's all. Christ said, go and bring your husband. The woman said she doesn't have a husband. I say, I know, you have had 5, let me see, where is it again? You've had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the one you're living with now. Then the next thing is they start engaging in prophetic gist. No more. Christ didn't condemn her. He didn't say, go back to your first husband. He didn't say, why did you leave your husband? But you see, there's a part that we miss in this sermon. He says, and that's verse 10, that's John chapter 4, verse 10. He says, if only you knew the gift God has for you, you would ask me, and I will give you living water. This is my message of salvation to you this morning. If only you knew. Christ didn't care whether she was living with a man she was not married to. He's there. Christ said, the man you are living with, you are not married to him. It's clear. He didn't care. It wasn't his business. He was more concerned about her ignorance. Christ said, if only you knew. You don't know. And I'm here to save you from ignorance. He didn't care if she was a Samaritan. Jews don't talk to Samaritans. He didn't care. He didn't care if she was divorced. You listen, some people argue that according to the Jewish laws those days, because of that's what the Amumu Jews told them, that if your husband dies, the only way she could be like that is if she's 6 husbands had died. Now so only you 6 husbands will die for you. They're not going to call you. They're not going to burn you stick. So if you winch, 6 only you 6 husbands die. 6. You marry some leave you, some divorce, some go die. You know what it is to go through 6 husbands? No man, by the 3rd one, no man go marry you as 4th wife. Say 3 husbands die for your head. For those days of superstition, no be today. Go try am now. Woman, Yoruba woman or Igbo woman, marry the first husband, he die. Marry the second husband, he die. Marry the 3rd husband, he die. She no go see 4th husband. In fact, they go banish him from village. Am I lying? Again, you, any man that climbs on top of her will die. That is in modern day Yoruba land. Today, 2022, you are now telling me year 001 or year 5 BC or whatever this timing was, that the woman will have gone through 1 husband died, 2 husband died, 3 husband died, 4 husband died, 5 husband died, 6 husband died. And the 5 husband died, and then she will now be living with the 6th one that is ready to die now too. When they are interpreting this thing to you, use your brain and be joining it now. Oh, le ponu patapata na wa ponu die wa den nila kai no die. So the message here is, you living with a woman or a man that's not your husband is not going to take you to hellfire. The salvation is, do you know? Even the Old Testament has said it. You will know the truth. Sorry, Hosea chapter 4 verse 6, my people perish for lack of knowledge. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You see, Nigerian idea of divorce is, of salvation, is a greedy thief who doesn't drink, smoke, or womanize, and who is with the wife of his youth. And I want to tell you something that Christ doesn't give an F. Oh yes, I'm going to use that word. He doesn't give an F if you're still married to the first woman, because he didn't give, if when he was alive, before he died and resurrected, when he was walking among us, he didn't give a rat's behind. He didn't give an F that this woman was divorced or remarried and was living. He didn't. It's not now in you that you are living in Odea in Ibadan, or you that you are living in Mero, he now is worried whether you are divorced. Really? When he was walking the earth, he was asking divorced women who were living with other men for water. You think it is now that he's going to despise you? Many of you in church today laughing at those people in the nightclub, forgetting that now them go open door of heaven for you. Because God does not look at nightclub, he looks at heart. So my message has always been a message of salvation. Because the only thing you really need to be saved from is ignorance. Christ preached that woman that day and she was saved from ignorance. You can't be saved from ignorance because your born again is a religion of ignorance. Giving your life to Christ means understanding what he stood for and following him, worship him in followership. My daughter called me the other day from her school and says, somebody told her that Muslims do not go to heaven. I said, that person is an idiot. Because how else do you explain Matthew chapter 25 verse 31 to 41? When Christ said, when I come and I gather the whole nations. He used the word kingdom, basilion. Nations, ethne in Greek. All nations, panta, the ethne. I studied Greek Bible. Please help me answer them. Sorry, there's somebody at the door. 1 second. No, you must not touch something. Yeah, everything's all right. What did you touch? You pulled this thing.
Oh, the red flower. That one is for the
How do you unplug it? Don't worry.
just tell them to switch it on.
Please, don't worry.
Sorry.
Cross back.
I
Don't-
don't know how.
It's okay. I'm gonna sit down. You cross there and then you. Let me tell them. Where's the reset button?
Okay, there's a button there.
Press it, yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry about that. Thank you. I'm done now. I'm done in 5 minutes. No, I'm not too long. I'm done now. Sorry, guys. Phew. Okay. Sorry. Oh. Let me just calm down. Yeah. Somebody said, Daddy Freeze, who they come disturb you like this? Is what I don't like. Who is that woman with Daddy Freeze? It's Bookie, and Taste Boss is in the bathroom. Before people start cooking story that does not. Before people start. So yes, let me round off the messages. I'm actually on time. We'll be, like I said earlier on, we'll be joining Pastor Toby and the Spark Nation for a service and then a wedding, so I have to get ready. Someone said you can't be done in 5 minutes. We just started. Pity me, I'm not in my house. I have to work like clockwork. So there's so much lined up for today. Please just let me finish this. And I will finish in 5 minutes. Encourage me to actually finish in 5 minutes. So you see, the message here, or the message in Nigeria, is a message of assumed holiness, a salvation based on holiness that is defined by religion. Do you think Christ didn't know that a human being cannot be holy? That is why he said he is here to save you from the law of sin and death. When you sin, the consequences of sin is death. But he's here to stand in between you and God. It doesn't mean you are encouraged to sin. But my first question to you this afternoon is, what is sin? Don't you think you've got the concept of sin all wrong? If you've always assumed that drinking alcohol is a sin, if you've always assumed that getting divorced is a sin, if you've always assumed that being a single mother is a sin, and now you know the single mother will not even they cruise me past. If you abort, they say they commit murder. If you born the pikin, they go they tag you single mom. And the same people that are against abortion are the same people that are against single mom. You see, Christ said something, because I'm using marriage, adultery, and what is it called? All my examples today from Moses. So I want to use another example to finally define sin. Please go with me to Matthew chapter 5 verse 27. Wow, this is very nice. Matthew chapter 5 verse 27. He says, you have heard that it was said, you have heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery. Verse 28 says, but I say, anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart. This is the definition of sin. Not just adultery, all sin. Sin starts in the heart. Let me ask you a question. A certain man who was gay got married to a normal woman and then found out that he was gay. And then he doesn't want to leave the woman because divorce is a sin. I now sat down with him and talked to him for like 3 hours. I said, brother, look at your heart. Is it fair for you to keep a woman you can't sleep with in your house because you are afraid of the sin of divorcing her, because you are going to be termed as adulterous? The one you are committing with other men is what? Infantry. I'm asking you, how do you wind yourselves up into this level of buffoonery, deep-rooted foolishness? You don't want to let a woman go, because if you let her go, she'll be committing adultery, and you'll be committing adultery. Let me ask you, if you don't touch a woman for 2 years, she's going to cheat on you. Oh, she's going to cheat on you. She's going to get so horny one day. She's going to grab whatever man she sees. But that's not a sin, because you're still married. You are running mad. You see, it comes from your heart. Think about it. Do you know that in Islam, if you steal food to eat, like you can prove that you are starving and you stole a banana, you are not starving and stole money for Rolls Royce, so that one is better thief, they will cut your hand. But even according to the Sharia law, if you can prove in Islam that you are hungry and you stole to eat, or you stole to give your children to eat, they will let you go for free. And they will blame whoever is your leader. Do I have anybody here? Do I have anybody here who understands proper Islamic doctrine? If the stealing you stole is so that you can eat, or so that your little children can eat, it's not considered a crime. The crime is actually on the person who is your leader. What were you looking at that these people gave so poor that they could not eat? If you are a servant, your master will be questioned. That why is your servant so hungry, so poor that he can't eat? So even stealing is not a sin if you are stealing to eat. What does that mean? Your heart. Sin begins and ends in your heart, not in a church doctrine, not in a religious ideology. Part of why Christ came to abolish the law was because he knew the law of Moses could not stand the test of time. A law that says, it's clear law of Moses. I go to a country, I see a woman that I like, I carry her to my house, I shave her head, she mourns her parents for 1 month, then I can start sleeping with her, she's my wife. That's what the law says. You go to war, you pick it. This Ukraine war, to say that Old Testament now, as soldiers, Russian soldiers reach Ukraine, they just see woman with they like, whether she marry, she not marry, she born, she not born, they don't carry her. She too fine, she get curved, as she they move her, something they wobble, they don't talk. Just carry her, go your house, shave her head, bat her, then you marry her after 1 month. That's the Bible. But you see, Christ knew, because he said, the one who sent me told me. He knew there was going to be a year called 2022. And he knew in 2022 you cannot go and do Russia-Ukraine war and carry women as your wives. So he left your conscience to judge you, and he gave one law that is greater than all other laws. And according to him and Paul, even though I disagree a lot with Paul's teachings, this particular one is based on the teaching of Christ. Galatians chapter 5 verse 14. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. It fulfills all the law of Moses. If you love your neighbor as yourself, you will not be gay and keep a straight wife. If you love your neighbor as yourself, you will not marry a woman that you are depriving and preventing from getting a divorce, and all you are using is Bible and I'm your husband, I'm not going to let you go. They say in the UK you cannot hold a woman. The only thing that can hold a couple in the UK is children or property. But that you will not give her divorce is beyond you. It's not in your power. She's not doing again. So you see, that brings us back to salvation. And after today's service, I want to ask you, are you saved? I remember how I used to look at people there was a beer parlor near the mosque where I grew up in. And alcohol was a sin, or is a sin according to Islam. And I used to look at them as they were all going to hellfire. But I want to assure you that alcohol, if womanizing was going to lead people to hellfire, just know Solomon ain't going to open gate for you if you reach hellfire. How many of you can deal with 1,000 women in your lives? Even porn star know they go through 1,000 women. Say every day they bring new one, make it act. He can't do 1,000 women in his life. You know what 1,000 is? So my question is, you can't be saved by religion. So let's redefine salvation. Christ said, love your neighbor as yourself. With all the religion in Nigeria, the first thing you notice is nobody loves anybody as themselves. Can we go back there? Can we leave this fake fall? Because you look at Nigeria compared to the UK. With all the churches we have, with all the praying, there's one guy that wakes up on Instagram every morning at 7 o'clock and prays. And then we tell you what God cannot do. With the things that God cannot do, Nigeria should not be where it is. Christians, let's even imagine Nigeria is bad. All Christians in Nigeria should be driving Ferrari now. All Christians in Nigeria should be driving Bentleys, Rolls Royces. They should all be living in Ikoyi. But it's a lie. It's all deceit. Because they are teaching you how to pray, they are teaching you to save, but they are not teaching you the only thing Christ requires of you. Love your neighbor as yourself. Then you will come to people like Pastor Toby's church. You will see all the pastors, as he's wearing LV, they are all wearing LV. As he's driving Rolls Royce, they are driving the general overseer drives a Lamborghini Urus, gray with black wheels. Even though I don't like black wheels. With beautiful orange interior and orange caliper. As the pastor of the church. The other pastor drives the F8 Ferrari that they were using to take me up and down. There's nothing he eats that he doesn't eat with them. There's nowhere he goes. Yes, he was going to the Davido show. He carried all of them with him. All of them were in his VIP box. I want to ask you, is that how your GO does it? Is there love in your religion? As long as you are looking for Daddy Freeze to preach salvation to you, then you have missed your own salvation, because nobody can preach salvation to you. You act salvation. And Christ said, if you read Matthew chapter 25, 31 to 41, it says, when I come in all my glory, I will select the sheep and the goats. The sheep will go to the right side, salvation, where a kingdom prepared for them from the beginning of this world. They were the ones who fed me when I was hungry, who took care of me when I was thirsty. He listed everything. Nowhere did he say people that said they were born again. Nowhere did he say people that were even Christians. He said those who took care of the least of my brothers and sisters. And he now talked about hellfire. He said those that are going there are those who ignored the least of my brothers and sisters. Then if you read Luke chapter 10 verse 25, when he spoke about the Good Samaritan, he spoke about a religious priest and a Levite that abandoned the sick Jewish man, and then a despised Samaritan that doesn't talk to the Jews saved him. He said, which of them? And the Pharisee said, the one who showed him mercy. And Christ said, go and show mercy. You are a pastor, you have locked people in prison. You're a pastor, you are using your power in your government to seize people's lands. And then you are preaching that there is one salvation that you get if you don't drink beer. Yala ya beer, mamu beer ni. Where did Christ say for those that drank alcohol? The sin is drunkenness. And let me tell you, drunkenness is the same sin as gluttony. When you eat too much food, it's gluttony. You're supposed to eat in moderation. Somebody who is stealing people's land is telling you because you are divorced, you will not make heaven. Tell him, Yaba, bye. Learn to do waka. Do it. Anybody that tells you that because you are divorced, or because you are a single mother, or because you got pregnant out of wedlock, or because you went through one thing or the other, you cannot make heaven, but you see that person and the level of wickedness in them. My problem is, who defined your salvation? Is it Christ? Is it scripture? Or is it religion? If it is religion, you are on your way to hellfire. Only you think you are saved. Have you ever seen that thing where somebody thinks something but everybody else knows otherwise? They will not be saying, should we tell him? Only you think you are saved. Let me tell you here, you are not. None of us is saved. Is by the grace of God. And Christ included things like abusive. Even Paul said it. Said those who are abusive will not enter the kingdom of heaven. He put abusive, he put thief, he put cheat, he put homo, he put adulterer. So who can remain where they go this heaven? Me, I know they cheat, I know they homo, I know they adore, I know they do anything. But that abuse, I don't get the power to resist them. So me, I'm as bad as homo. We are equally bad. I'm as bad as adulterer. I'm as bad as thief, which is your pastor. So the prayer now is, how do we get out of this mindset? I love you guys. I want you to know that salvation comes by listening to his word and obeying his instruction. You are saved in Yahushua's name. Please obey him. Take care. God bless. I love you. I need to be out of here in exactly 5 minutes.